All right, everyone, welcome back. Wednesday, 11 a.m. Questions, concerns, feedback. Let's bring it on. Let's get started.
Hi, everyone. Today, I would love for us to discuss how we can connect technique and intensity in our training, kind of like as the two pillars that we get to play with.
hmm Yeah, so we get that question a lot because in the ugly world of fitness, it has to be either or. So you either working on technique or you're working on intensity, or you're doing both at the same time, and most likely get hurt doing it. So um, how I see this is really simple. Yes, and we've been talking about this a lot on the calls about shoulder blades and hip positions and pelvis positions, and that's stuff that you have to learn. And obviously, that's sort of classified as technique work, and that's totally true. So the big question now is, how can you learn intensity? And in my experience, and what we've done at the gym, and what we've implemented in the templates as well, is you can learn intensity. This is not breaking news with the fastest without any technical barriers. So that means the lower the skill of an exercise, the higher the level of intensity, the harder you can push, so to speak. So that means it's easier to push intensity on a sandbag squat than it is to do on a barbell back squat. There's multiple factors to it, and technique being one of them. So you have what is technique? You have a harder time executing the rules and sticking to the rules to make progress. That's literally all it is. Um, and then there's a certain part of flat work, of stuff that is so non-technical that you can literally stop thinking and just push it. Let's take the rope pull, for example. Like, yes, you can, there's like two or three things you should be considering while doing it. But at the end of the day, even if you're not considering them, nothing's going to happen. You're not going to get the best outcome of it, but you're not going to get hurt doing rope pulls and standing up or wiggling with your hips. Like, nothing's going to happen. You're just not going to use your lats as much as you should. So that's a cool thing about the reverse sled drag, the harness bear crawl, the sled sprint, the rope pulls, the all the stuff that we're doing to teach intensity. Let's make a practical example out of it. So on the hip holy hip healer template, we have, for example, the reverse sled drag in it, as well as the harness bear crawl. So the only thing that you have to worry about on the reverse sled drag is keep your hips extended only for the purpose of training your glutes, maintaining and stabilizing a neutral hip. And that's it. And then just go as fast and as long as you can. Um, I People most of the time stop themselves because they're just exhausted because the legs are burning and the glutes are burning. The only reason I stop people is if they let their hips drop too much and they can't bring the hips up anymore, because then the exercise is actually being pointless. So what does it mean? Yes, we're working very, very precisely and technically on the rules and the hip position and the shoulder positions a lot. But at the same time, and in the same session, you have to do the intensity work necessary. So you can combine both worlds of working precisely on positions and muscles, but on the other hand, also incorporating the intensity part of it. What is intensity? Um, I have a weird story about intensity. Um, it's twofolded. I'll tell the summary first. So intensity is literally stop whispering in your to your system's ear, "Hey buddy, we have to change something. Could you be please nice and change something, whether that's growing a muscle or losing fat or whatever it is." Whispering doesn't work for your body to elicit change. Um, so what does elicit a response is pushing to a certain limit where your body has no other chance than changing. For example, the reverse flat track. Yes, your quads are going to burn. Your quads are going to burn like hell for a couple of weeks until you teach your glutes to stabilize, and then your quads are still going to burn like hell. the point being here is most people are afraid to push because they're experiencing pain, like sharp pain, like actual joint pain the next day. That's how you know you've done too much technical work on the day before. Um, you're still going to be in pain the next day doing reverse leg drags, but it's a different kind of pain. It's muscle pain. It's your body adapting to stuff. You could literally train the next day. When you experience sharp pain, so sharp hip pain, sharp lower back pain, like you don't want to train the next day. And that's the beauty of combining both worlds, technique and intensity, to get to a point where your body realizes, okay, this dude, this gal has understood how I want to work, and she's working on it. And now I'm allowing her or him to push intensity further because I don't have to send sharp pain signals the next day because you're trying to fuck up your body. That's how it works. That's how we combine technique and intensity in the templates. And that's a skill that you can learn and you have to learn. This has nothing to do with rep schemes, with weight, or exercise choice per se. This has to do with you learning technique and learning intensity and combining it in the same session. Long ass answer.
Because you mentioned the example of the reverse sled drag, that is actually one of those exercises where I was really surprised doing it. That although it kind of like it hurts like hell while doing it, the next day you don't have like you're not as sore as, for instance, if you're doing box squats. And that was actually something that I was surprised of, because when you first feel that tremendous pump in your legs, you're like, okay, I'm gonna be so sore tomorrow. But then on the next day, you're not. It was, especially just for me, it was kind of like a mind fuck at the beginning.
It is. And let me be clear. As much as it's a stupid idea to push intensity on a barbell back squat for people who started to train, as little do I like the thought of you just doing the reverse sled drag without doing the technique work.
Mm.
We're going back to the small cat and three monkey approach. The three monkey approach is I'm going to push through no matter what. I don't want to see, listen, or hear anything. Um, see, listen, or talk about anything. And the small cat is I'm afraid of everything, so
Mm.
I'm not gonna push on the reverse sled. So you have to do both and know that on the technique side, you're learning to not be a monkey and to not be a small cat, as well as on the intensity side, you have to learn to not be a small cat and to not be the three-headed stupid monkey, right? Back to reverse sled drag. For some weird reason, we're having that concept in our head of punishing ourselves um, to feel progress or to feel
Mm.
satisfied or to feel whatever you want to call it. And sore muscles are an unfortunate result of that process. That doesn't mean it's bad or it's good. But it can't be the goal. Like if muscle soreness is the goal to kind of destroy muscle fibers and reheal them or whatever the scientific process is behind it, well, I can train you in every single session. So you're having constant muscle soreness in your body. I don't think that's a good idea. It depends on if I can produce it at the right spots. I'm not interested in your quads being sore ever. Zero. I'm interested in the three big muscles, your lats, your obliques, and your glutes being as sore as fuck for maybe a couple of years and then actually start to work and do the job and not getting sore anymore. Not sore anymore is a weird concept, but you get the point. Like muscle soreness makes sense in certain muscles, but it's never the goal. And it
Mm.
doesn't make any sense to produce muscle soreness in small muscles. Zero.
Mm.
Do we have to get a different perspective in on what the end goal of training is? And it's for sure not training for muscle soreness. The reason why the reverse sled drag won't give you that 1,000 air squats booty muscle soreness the next day and you can't walk for 5 and for some weird reasons, you feel super happy about it, because you've accomplished something and you can brag about it and whatever, rolling down the stairs. The reason is it's less technical, so that means not a lot of joints get eccentrically loaded during your reverse sled drag. And the other part is your body doesn't have to send the sharp pain signals because it was good for him. I know that's a maybe not the most sophisticated answer to this, but once you realize you can push as hard as on a reverse sled drag, like really hard, like you're thinking you're at 100% of your effort, waking up the next day and you feel tired, you feel worked through, you feel that you've done something, and maybe your soul hurts because you pushed the day before, but you have no soreness. This shows your system and yourself you can push further the next time. Once you experience sharp pain the next day, or your knee hurts, your back hurts, guess what? Neither your system nor you are going to be super much looking forward to pushing harder the next session. And that's how the progress ladder or the progress curve gets lower and lower, because the more you push, the more pain, the more sharp pain you're going to experience. So guess what? You're not going to push anymore, and your system is not going to allow you to push anymore, because that doesn't make any sense, right? You don't want to harm yourself, and that's why, unfortunately, you won't see progress anymore, because you need the pushing part to elicit whatever, the hormones, the growth hormones, etc. So the holy grail is to combine, again, both, working very precisely and very diligently on small movement patterns, muscles, bone position, etc., but at the same time pushing the intensity button as fucking hard as you can. Right? Don't stay on either side of the arch for too long, because your body is going to break. It needs both. And guess what? Just do the templates.
What would you recommend, though, to a coach who, for instance, has certain clients, certain gym members who are more on the little cat side, and they kind of like, I don't want to be like stereotypical, but like, for instance, a kind of like a woman who might be afraid to push the intensity. Is there, in your experience, a way to kind of trick someone like that into intensity?
Okay, so this is the tough part. It needs, for us, teaching a change of behavior in that person, because you cannot and you should not make somebody do something because you think it's going to be beneficial for them. The only way out of this is that person, and let's call that lady Susie, to show Susie why it makes sense to put more effort into it. So that means she gets a reward afterwards. Especially for the ladies, it makes absolutely no sense to push themselves to certain limits, because that's what losing feels like. And as we know, most females out there don't like losing, right? We guys, we have no problem with it. Like, we want to be dying on the floor, and I should have done a 100-meter sled sprint, but I died at 80. And guys are like the happiest persons on earth, right? I killed myself. I don't care if I made it to 100. I put so much weight on that I could not even think about making 100 meters, right? And the ladies are like, whoa, wait. So I have to make that 100 meters, like, no matter what. So I'm not going to use any weight on that sled. I have to make that 100 meters first. And let them, right? As we all know, don't try to win against the ladies. Help them get their wins. So, okay, let's do the first sled sprint, Susie, with zero weight. Is that okay for you? Do you feel safe and comfortable doing this? I know this will not be like the most intense sled sprint ever for her, but I have to let her win on the first one. So she does the 100 meters. She wins the thing. She's a little bit out of breath, but not like super exhausted. So I'm like, okay, did that work for you? Yes. How did that feel? Blah, blah, blah. And how, do you want to do a second one? It's like, of course we're going to do a second one. And she's like, no, we're not going to do a second one because I already have my win for the day. I was like, okay, cool. What about trying to make it to 80 meters with like 5 additional kilos? And if you want to stop at 80 meters, that's totally fine for me. And if you want to continue and finish your 100 meters, that would be like outstanding. Like that's a world record for you because you've not done it before, right? So her new goal is 80. I know that she can do 100 meters, but I cannot make her do 100 meters because she's now afraid of, okay, I know that I can do 100 meters without weight, but I don't know if I can make 100 meters with plus 5 kilos, right? But 80 or 60, whatever the number is, 50 meters sounds like a reasonable number to give it a try, right? So she starts pushing the sled with 5 additional kilos. She's at 50 meters, she's at 60 meters, she's at 70 meters, and of course she can finish the 100. And guess what? Most ladies will stop at the 80-meter mark and be like, I've done 80, I've done my job, I won, no problem. And like, okay, cool. Now you know that you've done 80 meters. For the last one, for the third set, can we try to finish that 20 meters? So now you know you can do the distance, you can do 100 meters, you can do 80 meters with more weight. And now we try to just bridge the gap in between those 20 meters, and you can stop at any point between the 80 and 100-meter mark. Is that okay for you? Yes. This is how you're going to, and then I'm going to explain it. Okay, this is how you're going to feel at 80 meters. You think you've won already, but then I want you to take 5 more steps or 6 more steps or 10 more steps. And now is the point where I can push her a little bit. That means, no. You just keep moving. You can walk, but you're not going to finish now because I've gained her trust on the first 2 sets, right? Don't do this on the first set. If you push somebody, especially Susie or a lady, if you push someone who doesn't want to be pushed, she will do it, but she will never ever come back. Maybe physically, but not mentally. Right? You have lost the trust. She will show up again, but you will never ever be able to push her into the intensity road ever again.
How long did it take you to
Long
figure
ass
that
story.
out?
What?
That
Coaching? I have not. I'm not pretending I can coach any woman properly. I've I've come up with strategies. I've come up with coaching ways to go in the right direction, but I will never ever pretend that I know how to coach women ever. There's no way.
Okay.